thought it was a match made in heaven. Imagining a storybook beginning. We were riding on the train back from work. I am 27 male, and my wife is 24 female. She is an accountant, and I am a lawyer. That afternoon, I just won the biggest case of my life. I was going to head home, dress up, and join my friends to celebrate while I was on the train home. I saw a beautiful woman sitting and flipping through her phone. There were people around, and I wanted to approach her. I was beaming with confidence, still high from the court case I won for my client. I approached her, and we struck up a conversation. I don't remember much of what we talked about, but I remember asking her to come out that night to celebrate, and she accepted. We hit it off quickly, and 6 months later, we were walking down the aisle. We wanted to start a family quickly, and it meant a lot to us to have a child at the early stage of our marriage. So, we started trying for a baby on the very first night of our marriage. 3 months later, no show. She asked me, I thought this thing was easy as being intimate. So what is wrong with us? Why haven't I conceived after everything that we have been doing? I answered, it takes one shot for some, but for others, it takes a lot of effort before it happens. So let's keep going. We tried for a year and got no result. She got worried. I wasn't perturbed because I knew it would happen when the time was right. We tried for another year and nothing happened. I said, don't worry, it takes time, but one day it will happen. We're still young and we still have time. Since another year passed without a show, she swung into nagging mode. She kept nagging. She expressed fear instead of hope. What if it doesn't happen at all? What if there's something wrong with us? To have all these questions answered, we went to a specialist. After going through a series of tests, the specialist told us that I have a low sperm count. He was confident, however, that modifying my lifestyle could change it because my count wasn't too bad. He gave a series of recommendations that would help improve our chances of getting pregnant. These included diet changes, sexual habits, timing intercourse during ovulation to enhance chances of pregnancy, increased frequency 3 days near and after her mid-cycle. When my wife heard that having sex every day would increase our chances, she didn't allow me to sleep. She didn't allow me to live my life on days we were both home. She wanted me to live inside of her. She demanded it. It was stressful for me, but I knew it was important to her. It was stressful for me, but for the sake of peace and calm in the house, I had to obey and do as she wished. Just 2 months after returning from the specialist, she conceived. I wish you could have been there to see how she expressed her joy. I don't have the words to describe her happiness on the day we tested, and it was positive. She jumped around and took a day off just to celebrate. She laughed for no reason and did a lot of good things in the house just because she could. 2 months later, my wife stopped doing anything in the house. If it was cleaning that needed to be done, she would say, I can't do it because of the dust. You know, pregnancy and dust don't go well. If it was preparing food, she would say that there was a reason why a pregnant woman couldn't do it. She even stopped doing laundry because the scent of the soap made her feel like throwing up. I didn't complain. Whatever she left undone, I did it. I cooked for her, cleaned the house, and did the laundry. All she did was watch TV and rest because pregnant women can't be stressed. When the pregnancy was 6 months along, she took a leave of absence from her job without even telling me. I found out when I saw her on the couch when she was supposed to be at work. I asked her if she was sick, and that was when she told me about her leave of absence. I was okay with it because my salary was enough to keep us comfortable. When I got home from work, she was still sleeping on the couch. She didn't touch anything in the house, and there were piles of dishes in the kitchen. But I didn't complain, even though I didn't like living in an untidy place. I took my time to wash the dishes. She was healthy through it all. One evening, her water broke and I rushed her to the hospital. She gave birth to a baby boy that evening, and we came home the next day. Her mother came to help take care of the child on the same day. Her mother made a seemingly innocent comment at the time, but it would later come back to haunt me. The child doesn't look like any of us, she said. My wife's mother later mentioned that the baby's nose looked like her late husband's. I didn't think much of it at the time, thinking it was just old folks talking. When her mother was around, my wife left everything to her and me. Her mother was a nice woman, and she wasn't comfortable seeing me do certain things, so she would take over. She would see me vacuuming and stop me, saying, Ricky, just leave it for me. I'll do it when I'm done with what I'm doing. Sometimes I would listen and let her take care of it while I did other things. The baby was 3 months old when her mother left us. My wife started working again, and we hired a babysitter. We hired a babysitter who lives next to us. We have known her for years. She is a woman in her 60s who is retired and needed extra income. She had been my mother's childhood friend, and she does a great job taking care of the baby when we are at work. My wife leaves work late, and sometimes we need the babysitter to stay longer. Now here comes the issue I don't understand. Immediately after my wife gets home, she doesn't do anything else. The baby will sit on her lap while she sits in the living room texting and sending the babysitter on errands. While the babysitter is still on the clock, when the babysitter finally leaves, she will start sending me around like I am a slave. At dawn, when the baby wakes up and starts crying, she will tap me, wake up, and pick him up. He wants to be walked around. When the baby is on her lap during the day, she doesn't do anything. At dawn, when there is nothing to do, the baby becomes my responsibility. There is a point when I got tired and began to complain. I told her, "Your attitude started when you were 2 months pregnant. I put up with it because of your situation. For all the times that you were pregnant, you didn't lift a finger in this house. Now there is a baby and you want to leave everything to me. No, it won't work. Snap out of your holiday mood and be responsible for what you are supposed to be responsible for." She was lying on the bed when I said that. She got up and sat in a way that she could be at my height. She said, "Are you complaining? Do you know how it feels to carry a baby for 9 months? Have you experienced it before? Do you know the pain and stress one goes through for 9 months before the baby arrives? I have gone through all that. And you want me to add domestic chores to it? What do you do around here?" Instead of having a conversation, it turns into an exchange of words. She was not ready to listen to me, and I was not ready to take what she was trying to put across. We slept without resolving anything. The next morning, I got up and left the house. She was still in the house when I returned from work. Used diapers were spread around the living room, and the baby was sleeping in the crib. I asked, "Is that where you would like to keep the used diapers?" She answered, "If it bothers you, you can gather them and take them to the trash." I did it. It's not my nature to watch things go wrong. The baby would be crying at night, and I would ask her, "Haven't you heard the baby crying?" She would tell me, "If it bothers you, you can make him keep quiet." She doesn't cook or clean in the house, and her answer is, "If it bothers you, then you have to do it." She would be carrying the baby around her neck all day, even when the baby is sleeping. The baby is sleeping on weekends when I'm doing laundry. She would throw her things in and ask me to wash them for her. The annoying thing is that the baby is her excuse only when he's not crying. Just wince. Immediately when he starts crying, her solution is to give him food. If the food doesn't make him stop, she will stop attending to him. When I complain, the baby becomes my responsibility. We talked about it. I got tired of having arguments about it, and I can't come back from work and spend most of my time taking care of the baby when I was supposed to be studying. So I decided to hire the babysitter full-time. Things seemed to be working well for some time. My wife got too comfortable with the babysitter taking care of the baby that she wouldn't even come back home early from work. It was almost as if she gave up the responsibility of being a mother to the babysitter. I don't mind paying the babysitter, but I thought as a mother she was supposed to be present, especially when the baby is still that young. The crazy part was that she wasn't this lazy before we got married. It was as if she was waiting to get pregnant before she started showing her true colors. One day, I took a day off to do some research on a case I was working on. My wife left for work and my babysitter came early as usual. I was in my home office when the babysitter walked in. It wasn't uncommon for us to share pleasantries from time to time, but this time something wasn't right because the babysitter was crying. I was concerned that something was wrong with the baby, so I asked her whether the baby was okay, and she said that the baby was good. Then I asked her what was wrong with her. Her voice was quivering. She muttered something that sounded like, "I want you to know that your wife is cheating on you." I asked her again to make sure I heard her correctly. I didn't believe what she said. I asked her how she knew my wife was cheating on me. She said that she had overheard my wife on the phone, talking to her affair partner on the baby monitor. She said that she was having an affair with her coworker, and it seemed like the affair had been going on for a while. I didn't know what to do. I felt like I had been slapped in the face. I sat in my chair for a few minutes, exhausted and confused. The confusion turned to anger. I wanted to call my wife and confront her, but some communication is better done face to face. From the explanation the babysitter gave me, I have an idea of who the affair partner was. My wife was fond of one of her male coworkers. She used to talk about him a lot. I haven't seen him before, but my blood was boiling to confront him. All logic went out the window when I got into my car and headed straight to her workplace. As a lawyer, I knew that everything I was about to do would be against the law, but I didn't care. I was going to drive to her work and confront her and rip the guy's head off. By the time I got to the parking lot, Mind revealed that it was around 10 a.m. when I arrived at her workplace. I sat in the parking lot, reflecting on my life and how I had made all the wrong choices. As I sat in my car, I noticed some people coming out of the building. Then I saw my wife walking out with her male and female coworkers. I was parked in the lot, staring at them as they approached. I didn't recognize the man with her, but his face seemed familiar. I couldn't place where I had seen him before, but I knew it wasn't from before. Then it hit me. He was the man my wife was having an affair with. Just that morning, when I left the house to confront my wife and her lover, I was ready to make a scene. But now I was just angry and defeated. As I drove back home, I knew my marriage was over. I called a friend who was a divorce lawyer to start the process. When I got home, the babysitter was still there. She was curious about what had happened and relieved to hear that I hadn't done anything rash. I thanked her for letting me know. She asked if she should leave, but I told her she could stay and take care of the baby. As I was about to walk away, I turned back and asked her why she had exposed my wife's affair, knowing she could lose her job. She said I was a good man, and it was hard for her to see me being treated this way. It was difficult to hold back my tears as I went to the bedroom to compose myself. When I came out, the babysitter was in the living room holding the baby. I felt like I needed some comfort, so I took the baby from her. As I looked into his eyes, for the first time, I saw the resemblance to the man I seen earlier. The man who was probably having lunch with my wife while I held our baby. That was the most painful realization. All the chores and effort I had put into raising this child, and he wasn't even mine. I thought about what my mother-in-law had said when he was born, that he didn't look like either of us. It was surreal. I couldn't confirm if he was mine without a DNA test, but I had a strong feeling he wasn't. The babysitter soon left, and it was just me and the baby. When my wife came home that evening, I confronted her about cheating on me, although I didn't mention how I found out. I lied and said I had been following her. She tried to deny it, but her expression said it all. She started confessing that it wasn't her fault, and that she was afraid she couldn't have a baby. She had an affair to get pregnant, and she blamed me for not giving her a child. I was heartbroken. Part of me still wanted to believe her, but deep down, I knew the truth. I wanted to believe that he was my son, but deep down, I knew he wasn't. I couldn't stay at home with her that night, so I went to stay at my brother's house. The next day, we got an official DNA test for the baby, and I wasn't surprised when it showed he wasn't mine. The lawyers have already drafted the papers, but she refused to sign them. She insists that I am the only father the baby knows, and since my name is on the birth certificate, it doesn't matter if he's not biologically mine. I've already told her she is delusional, and whether she likes it or not, I will be filing for divorce. I have a lot of respect for my mother-in-law, but when I called her, I got the feeling that she already knew. It seemed like everyone around me knew something was wrong with my wife, except for me.